showcasing the Smith brothers, two of our most passionate locals in the DMV. Not doing too hot at this Midseason Showdown, but happy birthday, David. We see on Alex's side, honestly, I want us to take a step back to just celebrate how active, how involved, how much fun they have at our events, and how much I enjoy seeing them at each local that I go to. But we are going to be seeing Alex Smith running Primarina, Rayquaza, Lunala, Stakataka, Snorlax, and Incineroar. A really interesting array of Pokemon, whereas David Smith is running the same 6 that we just saw with Calvin versus James, with Groudon, Yveltal, Incineroar, Tapu Koko, Metagross, Venusaur. I am excited to see how the brothers face off, and I really enjoy watching them play at events and against each other, and how much fun they're having when they're here. And I'm looking forward to seeing how they do in Sword and Shield as well.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see that Primarina. I actually think it could be a solid pick for this matchup. Kind of. It does
looks
well
like
against both restricteds.
With Rayquaza Primarina, it definitely threatens Yveltal and Groudon with water moves next to the Rayquaza, and just stab Moonblast against the Yveltal. It's going to have to take a lot of damage from the... It's going to really be scared of the Venusaur or the Metagross. But with the Lunala on Alex's side of the field, we could see nice covering. He might even be interested in bringing Lunala in this matchup, regardless of the presence of an Yveltal. But
yeah,
you'll see Alex bring his brother the Rayquaza, and Stakataka versus Tapu Koko Yveltal. The Rayquaza set really matters right now. If it's a physical set, it's not really threatening the Koko too much, and it's not knocking out the Yveltal. If it has Earth Power, it can probably knock out the Tapu Koko. And the Stakataka on Alex's side of the field has to worry about the Tapu Koko. Whether, depending on the Z move, if we tend to see Tapunium Z out of the Kokos on this team, and Tapunium Z plus Foul Play would straight knock out the Stakataka.
Yeah, so David definitely in a position where he's threatening a knockout, but he does have to dedicate both of his slots to getting said knockout. It's either you prioritize the Stakataka here, which would go for something like a Trick Room, or you prioritize the Rayquaza, which is a huge means of damage output here coming out from Alex's side. We've seen typically on these Rayquaza Lunala teams that Rayquazas like to be on the bulkier side, usually like to offer something like Swords Dance. So that's always an option that David has to consider. But we're going to see his Yveltal switch out on turn 1. Just going to switch into the Incineroar, get the Intimidate on both of these Pokemon.
It's a strong Intimidate.
Yeah, it's a really good Intimidate to have here, since these are both really powerful physical attackers. And Koko can kind of just do, do Koko things. It can switch out with Volt Switch if it wants to, or just go for a straight Nature's Madness if it doesn't want to dedicate that Z move right off the bat.
The difference is these brothers know what each other's sets are, whereas we don't. So we're speculating, and they're not. They have inside info that we don't have. The Rayquaza Mega Evolves. It is a Mega... Yeah, Rayquaza Mega Evolves, putting the annoying lines on the screen. Volt Switch from the Koko, weakened by the Delta Stream, but Koko not wanting to take damage, wanting to have the opportunity to maybe switch back into the Yveltal now that the Rayquaza and the Stakataka are at -1, and that there's Fake Out Live. David deciding not to opt into committing his damage onto the field, but instead really want to set up his position. But instead of Yveltal, we see Groudon coming in. So we know all 4 Pokemon on David's side of the field. We only know the 2 on Alex's.
Yeah, that was a very passive play from turn 1 for David there. He doesn't really get a whole lot of damage off that turn, but he he maneuvers his pieces around on the field, right, and he does get that Intimidate in. But that play was, like I said, very passive, and he's kind of allowing Alex to get some more damage on his side of the field, as we see Dragon Ascent coming out from Alex's Rayquaza into the Incineroar. Not going to do as much, but oh wow, a critical hit actually just deletes the Incineroar from the game.
I look away for 1 second,
and something happens. It just,
oh my goodness.
all the HP is gone.
There was an Incineroar. It was a cool play on Alex's side of the field, or on David's side of the field, but now we see
Trick Room going up.
Alex predicting the critical hit, knowing that he won't have to deal with the Incineroar and Trick Room,
back in.
not having to do anything. And now the Stakataka has a -1 attack drop. The Rayquaza has -1 attack, -1 defense, -1 special defense, and depending on the Groudon set that David has, this might not even be the worst position. Obviously doesn't really want the Incineroar to just get knocked out there, but you know what? That's Ultra for you.
Yeah. I mean, it's, he does have the Trick Room up now, but Alex, is still dealing with his Pokemon being seriously debuffed right now. He has his Rayquaza with -1 defenses, -1 attack, and he has the Stakataka, which is also at -1 attack. But, it's still a pretty awkward position for David as well, since a lot of his team relies on its speed. And now that he's lost the Incineroar, one of his slowest Pokemon that is probably the best at taking advantage of the Trick Room.
Pokemon on his team.
Yeah, and the best one at probably taking advantage of this Trick Room. And, having those Intimidates being able to cycle in and out would have been really helpful, especially against these two Pokemon right here.
Well,
and Tapu Koko coming in here, it's not going to enjoy taking on Stakataka, but luckily he has Groudon by his side.
Rayquaza switches out on Alex's side of the field. You do have to recognize that the Groudon still was threatening the Stakataka, especially if it has Eruption, since -1 stack is not doing too much damage to the Groudon. Protect coming from the Tapu Koko. My favorite boy coming in. Snorlax just coming in hot. Shiny version, I think. I'm not even sure.
It is.
That is the shiny. Rock Slide from the Stakataka. Flinches a plenty. Life Orb Stakataka. And the flinch was a plenty. And unfortunately for David, his brother is giving him no room to maneuver from crit to Rock Slide flinch. Happy birthday, bro. We are not letting you play this game.
Yeah, definitely getting some very unfortunate RNG here. But now that we see the Stakataka is Life Orb, it is actually probably better that it's Life Orb for Alex, because now it's -1 attack drop. I don't know, Stakataka doesn't really mind being intimidated when it has that Life Orb item. Still a huge threat to the Koko. And as we see, we go for the Gyro Ball.
It's gonna probably knock it out. Oh, probably not actually. It's a -1. Yeah. So no knockout from that. Belly Drum coming in from Alex. That could be risky if an Eruption comes in for free, and if the Koko takes the Snorlax out after the Eruption.
Interestingly, we saw that the HP didn't go under half.
Alex, no.
The HP, you're supposed to make it an even HP number, so it goes under.
This Snorlax is eccentric, as we all know. It has an odd HP stat. Nature's Madness from the Koko, procking the berry for his brother. Kindness. Everyone is in a giving mood. Oh no, that's the saddest thing to see.
Yeah.
When the Snorlax's berry doesn't proc is when you know that someone didn't love their Pokemon enough, and it's just really unfortunate.
Really hate to see that.
Oh no!
But actually, the Nature's Madness actually, being pretty helpful here. He now has his HP back, and now
back
Snorlax kind of
just goes in on it. Goes on a tear. He has +6 frustration after +6 frustration. The Incineroar getting knocked out early really means there's no way of maneuvering the damage into this position, and I don't really see David having a way to come back outside of potentially nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know what David can do to come back from this, as opposed to just after multiple turns of stalling out the Trick Room, and having Yveltal solo against the +6 Snorlax, which is in foul play range. So we'll get knocked out by foul play. Rayquaza's scary. So David switched Groudon straight back into the Yveltal.
Well,
not sure I agree with that position.
Yeah, now the foul play is not going to be a factor whatsoever.
If the frustration knocks it out.
We're still +6 Yveltal can take that?
I meant if he hits the Yveltal or the Groudon, as opposed to the Koko. We see a recycle coming in. David reading his brother like a book.
Yeah, getting that defensive, punishing that defensive play.
Dragon Ascent going into the Yveltal. Probably not going to do an extraordinary amount, but most likely around the lines of like 65. Or
I thought that was
I
thought that was almost a crit.
Oh no. These Pokemon are so strong. That makes me think that Alex is Rayquaza's choice, man, dude.
Yeah, but that looks to be the case. I mean, usually you don't see Yveltal take that much damage from a Dragon Ascent.
Without a boosting item.
Yeah, without a boosting item. But now the Snorlax is in a perfect position.
This is the last turn of Trick Room, though. Yep, we
just saw now it's Choice Band. Yep.
But this is the last turn of Trick Room. If Yveltal protects, so that made it in freely, and then if Alex sacks the Groudon, we have the phone going on in the background because we are popular boys in the back. Yveltal protecting. Koko does not go for a switch into the Groudon to be able to threaten the Yveltal. It goes for a double protect, fails, return into the Yveltal, knocking it out, absent to protect. Dragon Ascent easily knocking out the Koko. Groudon coming in, but the Rayquaza is still kind of scary.
Yeah, it definitely still is, especially once this Trick Room eventually expires. Groudon coming in, not going to want to take a Dragon Ascent whatsoever. But, of course, now the Trick Room has expired, but with the chip damage, I still don't think Dragon Ascent will be enough to pick up Groudon, but since the Yveltal did just protect this last turn, Dragon Ascent seems rather free into that slot.
I do wish that instead The Coco.
But
I
also,
don't even know if
Alex
CB
does have to
Jones-
worry about a potential sucker punch, though.
We
from
don't
Evolve.
know if there's Sucker Punch. This
Yeah.
is true. So there is the potential for Sucker into the Rayquaza and then Overheat into the Snorlax to make sure you get the knockout. We don't know what the Groudon set is. We haven't seen really what it can do. I don't actually remember how that chip damage happened either. It was a Rock Slide.
It was Rock Slide, yeah.
And the Rock Slide flinched, so we never saw a move from the Groudon. Curious to see what tricks David has in store to preserve the position. Moonlight, the Evil Tall, Lunala, Primarina, goodness, coming in right now. Foul play straight into the Snorlax. No sucker punches to be
Wait.
seen.
Wait.
The Groudon is pressing Hidden Power Ice
Oh, Hidden Power
into
Ice.
the Rayquaza, but doing a pittance to that Primarina, showing off that he does not have Overheat. Rayquaza looks like it's in a prime position to just end the game. Even at -1 defenses, it's not going to take a knockout to HP Ice with the Delta Stream removing its flying weakness, or its flying typing, and that weakness to the Ice type moves.
Yeah, I actually really like that switch out from David because not only or Alex, because you bring back in the Delta Stream so that you don't take damage from take as much damage from HP Ice, but you also give Primarina the ability to attack with Water type moves.
Into the
So you're
Groudon.
freely able to target into that Yveltal, go for the knockout with Dragon Ascent, and then Primarina can clean up the Groudon with a Water type move. So definitely getting some very, very unfortunate or very fortunate RNG in his favor, but well played endgame there to Alex as he is going to take game 1 of this set.
Yeah. We'll see if the birthday boy can run it back. Not sure what adjustments they'll make. Again, emphasizing that they know each other's teams way better than we do. We do not team sheet in the back at the DMV locals. We go in as blind as you all and make the assumptions that you will too. Same teams, not... So, the game is incredibly different if that Incineroar just doesn't die. I'm not even... So, if it's CB Ray, if it's Adamant CB Ray, the instant could have still gotten knocked out at -1.
Well, I don't think it knocks
Actually, I don't know
out.
if that's true.
It knocks out if
it's not
Rayquaza,
that-
if it's not intimidated, then Rayquaza is clean.
Oh, that's not
knockout.
even a question. That's, that
But
Incineroar
at
goes back.
-1, I don't believe so.
Depends on the investment, honestly. Some of the Z Incins get knocked out, and I
Yeah.
think we saw Madness. We didn't see Goa coming from David Smith's Coco, so it's possible it's a Z Incineroar.
Yeah, didn't really get a chance to use it.
Primarina didn't get to do anything either. I'm wondering if Alex goes for a different an adjustment, maybe not bringing his Snorlax, considering that the Snorlax's HP stat is upsetting.
Yeah, the Snorlax kind of just set up Belly Drum and then just didn't do anything afterwards. It kind of just got knocked out because at that point, by the time he got set up with everything, it just wasn't able to take advantage of the Trick Room turn. So maybe if Alex wants to go that Snorlax
Maybe
route,
have the Incineroar.
he'll have to be better more proactive with his Snorlax. I think David could also be. Speaking of being proactive, I think David could honestly be more proactive with this place because he made a lot of defensive switches that
He
first
didn't
turn.
do enough damage, and that
Exactly,
damage, even though Alex did get a lot of fortunate RNG to attack David, David didn't do enough damage to really prevent that from happening. We see a completely different lead out of David Smith, leading Groudon Venusaur saying, you know what, bro, I am going to fight you. I am doing damage, and that's a strong lead for him to have it against. We see the Lunala Stack Attacker coming out of Alex, very vulnerable to Sleep Powder, Sleep Powder, Earth Power. We know that there's a Life Orb on Alex's Stack Attacker, so there is no Shucka Berry to prevent it from getting knocked out by the Earth Power. If the Sleep Powder goes into the into Lunala, and if it connects and the Earth Power goes into the stack, there's not really much Alex can do to cover it right now, besides maybe switch Stack Attacker to Rayquaza.
Yeah, Alex definitely does have a switch in here, but he does have to be very careful with that Venusaur and the Sleep Powder possibility here. His team does really want to get that Trick Room set up, but Venusaur is a very, very good Pokemon at stopping that, provided it does hit that Sleep Powder. But we're just going to see a Protect here from Stack Attacker on turn 1. Yep, and Groudon and Sleep Powder just going to go into the Lunala. It does connects. So very fortunate there for David.
Which we're saying after he hits his 3 out of 4.
He deserves a Sleep Powder hit after that one.
Oh, okay. David made the manliest play alive, calling the Rayquaza on the switch, or thinking that that's what would happen, and going straight for the HP Ice right to hit that Rayquaza. If that happened, there would be nothing more impressive for a Smith brother to do on his birthday than catch that Rayquaza. But the Stack Attacker called the HP Ice switch and protected instead. Honestly, I don't even know what happened, what got called there, but the stack attacker protected and no damage happened.
Yeah.
And now he has to be vulnerable to an Earth Power Sleep Powder into the stack.
Yeah.
If Rayquaza switches in, takes no damage but falls asleep, or Grass Knot going into the stack attacker instead.
Yeah, probably just going for a knockout here rather than
An
trying
eruption,
to go for
yep.
an eruption plus, because now Lunala being put to sleep, no threat of something like Wide Guard coming out here, so
It could have woken
eruption.
up a turn.
It could, yeah, but David just putting all of his eggs into this, knocking out the stack attacker basket.
No, it does wake up, does get the Z move off, and most likely the Groudon does get knocked out. Which is mildly awkward since the Venusaur will no longer be fast enough to get the Sleep Powder on the Rayquaza before it gets more damage. However, the Sash remains active, and Yveltal gets to put out one turn of pressure against the Lunala or the Rayquaza with an Incineroar in the back. We are still in a relatively fine position. Trick Room's not going up this game, and that's what was the primary factor to prevent David from getting his damage off. He got the eruption he needed on the Lunala to break the Shadow Shield to get the knockout on the stack attacker. And now, Incineroar Venusaur looks like it could do a lot of damage if there's also an Yveltal too.
Yeah. Stack attacker being gone is pretty big for this matchup because it is one of the primary ways Alex has of dealing with an opposing Yveltal. But now, especially since the Yveltal and the Dark types, potentially in the back, both of them are a lot scarier now since Lunala has had its Shadow Shield broken. And now Yveltal will be coming in, and
Rayquaza 64 coming out.
Yep.
The Lunala is getting threatened by a knockout by the Yveltal, but I think the Yveltal is getting threatened by a knockout from the Rayquaza's Dragon Ascent. If Alex has Incineroar in the back, he is in a pretty prime position to launch damage into the Rayquaza slot. To force a foul play into that slot to get the knockout and to not have to fear damage into his Yveltal as significantly. Without Incineroar in the back, I'm not sure what he'd be able to do to cover the Dragon Ascent in this position.
Yeah, it makes it a lot more awkward for David, considering that this Rayquaza is choice banded, so it is threatening a knockout onto that Yveltal, but Venusaur, provided that it has a focus sash, David could read this target into the Yveltal and go for a potential sleep powder
into the Rayquaza as opposed to double protect. There is always that option, but Venusaur does switch out. We do see the Incineroar come in. Yveltal should eat this Dragon Ascent absent a critical hit, and a foul play should knock
it out
the Rayquaza if it locks itself in the Dragon Ascent because of the -1 defenses.
Yeah, either way you're risking some percentage chances there. Either you can hit the sleep powder or a potential critical hit could do this Yveltal in. But I do like this play. I do like this play a lot because you're guaranteeing, well, 1 in 24 chance that you're guaranteeing that this Yveltal lives this attack, and if granted that doesn't happen, this foul play easily able to get the knockout
Protect
onto
out
this.
of the Lunala. Not sure I agree with that. Essentially, all that matters this turn is whether this Dragon Ascent crits the Yveltal, and if it doesn't, because if the Yveltal goes down, the Lunala could have done something. The Dragon Ascent does not crit the Yveltal. Foul play into the Rayquaza should knock it out. Assuming that's what it goes into. It does.
Yeah,
now, fake out live on the Incineroar for whatever switches in onto... Oh my goodness.
Wait, the Rayquaza actually living.
I am so sorry. I guess the Intimidate... I thought the defense boost drop would...
negate the Intimidate. Yeah,
I really did.
I thought it would kind of offset there, but, well, I guess maybe this Rayquaza a bit bulkier than we anticipated.
And that is what happens when you make assumptions. We do have fake out from the Incineroar that could have potentially gone into that slot. Hopefully... Alex knows what... Okay, Alex does have Sucker Punch on his Yveltal, which allows him to cover the Rayquaza in this position. Knockoff went into the Lunala before Lunala moved, making me think that the Lunala was going for a Trick Room. Though Knockoff doesn't typically do that much damage to the Lunala, Dark Aura from the Yveltal boosts the damage from the Knockoff. Sucker Punch into the Yveltal, Sucker Punch from the Yveltal plus an attack from the Rayquaza, or into the Rayquaza from the Incineroar, should be enough to cover it. Knockoff does do a lot of damage to this Snorlax being able to take out its berry. So one could consider Sucker Punching the Yveltal and then just knocking off the Snorlax. And the only way, into the Rayquaza. And the only way Rayquaza avoids it is with this E-Speed.
Yeah, E-Speed dodging that potential Sucker Punch there from Yveltal. But, yeah, this Incineroar just freely to go for a knockoff here. Does not get the Dark Aura boost, so definitely not going to be doing a lot of damage. But with this Belly Drum, it will be knocking Snorlax down to pretty much minuscule amount of HP, and since it was knocked off, it does not have the ability to recycle said berry. So
Right.
Snorlax definitely in a very awkward position here.
Venusaur might be looking a little silly, but Venusaur just has to Sludge Bomb into that Rayquaza, and then that should get the knockout, and then Incineroar can force a Flare Blitz if it has it, or just another knock into the Snorlax. And because of Venusaur's Focus Sash, that should be, assuming it has a Focus Sash, actually it doesn't even need it, that should be enough to take the game for David. Sludge Bomb into the Rayquaza gets the knockout. Incineroar, that could theoretically be slower than the Snorlax. It's not.
Nope.
Flare Blitz comes in, and we see David take the win against his brother, game 2, going into it, our first game 3 on stream.
Yeah. I would have, in a normal situation, I would have been like, yeah, the E-Speed there, not exactly proccing the Focus Sash, so it preserves a bit of information. But, like we said, these two are brothers, so if there's one thing they know, it's they do. Probably inside and out at this point. But we're going into a game 3 here. What kind of adjustments do you think we could see from both of these players?
In all honesty, I don't really want to see the Snorlax from Alex.
Yeah,
I don't think it's doing anything besides getting knocked out. And I think for Ultra Series, and this comes from me, #1 Snorlax fanboy, Snorlax just doesn't do enough in Ultra Series. It feels a lot cooler than it actually is, and unfortunately, you haven't seen it put out pressure against anything on David's team. It needs too much help, and in the meantime, it takes too much damage. We saw knockoff on Incineroar, foul play from Yveltal, Metagross even from David's side of the field. Like, the Snorlax just doesn't do anything.
Yeah. It hasn't nearly been as proactive as you think it would be.
I want Alex to have Incineroar. I think Incineroar is really helpful in this matchup. I think Incineroar and Stakataka, Rayquaza, and then potentially Lunala seem to be the mons on his side of the field that do the most consistent damage to David's Pokemon. So I really want to see Incineroar instead of Snorlax from Alex.
And plus having that Fake Out on deck would be really useful for getting that Trick Room
and to get the knockout with the Ray, too.
Right.
And then Alex, for David, I like the Yveltal. He needs it. I like the Incineroar a lot. I think Venusaur put out a lot of pressure early games, so I'm okay with that. I think he could see a Metagross as well.
Yeah.
I don't know why we haven't necessarily seen Metagross from David as one of his best answers to a choice band Rayquaza.
I still think Coco could actually be really helpful here because that Z move, that Guardian of Alola, just puts everything in range.
Assuming it has it, we haven't
actually seen it yet, but we're just like we said, we're assuming here, going off of conjecture and team success history, but. We're going to see just the double restricted lead here from Alex going into game 3 here. We see the Incineroar Groudon, so getting the early Intimidate on that Rayquaza, preventing it from getting any knockouts here. But with that being said, these choice-banded Rayquazas usually have a coverage option for the Groudon, so David definitely has to be careful here.
You mean Dragon Ascent?
Well, Dragon Ascent or the dreaded Waterfall. So, that's always an option.
The Intimidate coming out onto the Rayquaza early is pretty strong. The Groudon isn't really in a safe position right now, being threatened by the Z move from the Lunala, a potential option to OHKO the Groudon from the Rayquaza. But with the -1 from into the Rayquaza and the live Fake Out, I do think David has a pretty safe switch in the Yveltal if he chooses to go into it. And we do see the Groudon switch out, most likely into the Yveltal. We'd probably see a Fake Out into the Rayquaza. Probably a safe turn for the Lunala to set up Trick Room if it wants, but if it sets up Trick Room, Yveltal is most likely going to outrun the Rayquaza. So we could see Rayquaza get a Fake Out and then Z move into Lunala. Not too sure.
Yeah. Incineroar threatening a Fake Out here. We're going to see Yveltal switch in here for that Rayquaza, as we do see the Waterfall come out.
No Fake Out from the Incineroar.
Yeah, going into the Yveltal, doing no damage, especially after that Intimidate.
You turn into the Lunala, breaking the Shadow Shield, showing us unequivocally that Lunala went for a Trick Room this turn. Lunala has not moved yet. The Yveltal really likes its position now because the Lunala can't do anything to it, and now it's faster than the Rayquaza, or at least likely to be faster than the Rayquaza. So at this point of the game, David does just get to press foul play a lot. Waterfall no longer does anything to the Groudon because of the sun, so David can arguably just ignore Rayquaza if it's locked in the Waterfall. And now, so he could just put attacks into the Lunala. I wouldn't mind seeing foul play Eruption or something from David to just hit something on the switch really hard and get damage into the Lunala.
Yeah, I think
Or Sucker Punch,
yeah,
Eruption.
the trick room going up here is not really a huge deal for David here. And now, like you said, that Rayquaza not able to go for the waterfall since the Desolate Land is back in play here. So pretty free
I think it's a Sucker
switch in
Eruption.
punish. Yeah, switch in punish here from David Smith.
That Snorlax comes in.
Yeah, Snorlax comes back into this game here. Likely going to be taking a ton of damage on the switch in, but yep, we're just going to see Sucker Punch go into that Lunala, clean knockout here, and Groudon just getting a single target eruption into the Snorlax. Now, Snorlax normally has pretty good special defense.
Hidden Power Ice. Oh, no.
Hidden Power Ice.
So Snorlax gets a free switch when it really shouldn't have gotten one.
Yeah, I don't think Snorlax deserved that one at all. But yeah, David just going for the Hidden Power Ice despite, Rayquaza not being the biggest threat here on the field.
Stakataka coming in, being a threat with its Life Orb at neutral. Gyro Ball doing so much damage to everything, so he chooses to go for it. Trick Room being live is pretty frustrating for David. I really wish we saw an Eruption there doing damage to the Snorlax on the switch. Putting out pressure, Eviltal switches out likely into the Incineroar to get the Intimidate both on Snorlax and Stakataka, have Fake Out to stall out Trick Room for a turn, and get damage out with the Groudon while he can. Rayquaza on the back is scary, but I think David needs to put out a Pokemon advantage so he can avoid just the single target Dragon Ascent ravaging his team.
Yeah, this Rock Slide also a very viable option for David, because if he does end up getting a flinch here, actually, well, I was going to say if he got a flinch there, that could mean a free Belly Drum setup, but unfortunately he just decided to kind of go for the straight up offense there. But Earth Power, yeah, but Earth Power going to go into the Stakataka, going to be an easy knockout here.
And now that Incineroar is on the field, there is a free Fake Out into the Rayquaza. Or into the Snorlax. You can get a Fake Out HP Ice in that Ray. I don't think that really matters. But if you Fake Out HP Ice the Rayquaza, then you can knock off HP Ice the Rayquaza. Even if the Snorlax sets up a Belly Drum this turn, right? He can only take out one knockout in Trick Room. So he can get a strong double target into the Ray, and then do it again if he's more threatened by that. So when Trick Room expires, he can knock out the Snorlax with his Eviltal.
Yeah.
So with the Fake Out live, he's in a fairly strong position. Fake Out does not
go.
He didn't need Fake Out, actually. That's pretty okay.
Yeah, not really in this position.
Wants to knock off the Rayquaza, not get beaten down, maybe get an HP Ice into it.
Yeah, because after Trick Room goes away, the Snorlax's Belly Drum is not really going to be super helpful here, as, we're going to see Knockoff going to the Rayquaza, doing a lot of damage.
A lot, actually.
Yeah, Hidden Power Ice, maybe not enough to knock out here with the Delta Stream. Yep, especially considering we've seen that Rayquaza take some pretty surprising hits in the past, but this Dragon Ascent now going into the Groudon, not going to be doing nearly as much damage as it used to be.
Is there a Mon 4 in the back for David, or is it just Eviltal?
It is.
Don't remember.
I think no, he still has all 4 of his Pokemon.
So now, that damage not knocking out Groudon, funnily enough, is putting David in a much worse position, because E-Speed can go into the Groudon, Frustration can go into the Incineroar, and now there's no circumstance this turn where Rayquaza can be threatened by a double target, with Snorlax only being able to take out one knockout. That being said, there's only one turn of Trick Room left, so the Snorlax isn't that scary without more turns of Trick Room.
Yeah.
So David might be like, I'm okay taking this double knockout. I don't really care.
Yeah. Because I definitely think whatever he has in the back can clean up the game from here.
Assuming if he has Coco and it outruns the Rayquaza, that would be the best case scenario for David. If it's potentially a Venusaur, I would consider switching Incineroar to Venusaur this turn. I think you want to preserve the Incineroar. I think preserving the Incineroar is really helpful.
Instead of just going for a high horsepower here, safe knockout onto the Incineroar, but still risking that.
Been safe,
yeah, risking that miss there. But Groudon going to go for another Hidden Power Ice.
E-Speed coming out from the Rayquaza.
And that's just going to be a free knockout on Rayquaza.
And that looks like it's a rat from David.
Yeah, Trick Room is going to expire this turn. Eviltal comes in, clicks Foul Play, and Snorlax goes bye-bye. Very interesting endgame there, don't you think?
I do. I think that if I was in this position, I would want to preserve the Fake Out for my Incineroar, because Incineroar plus Eviltal 100% wins the endgame, regardless of what Snorlax Rayquaza does. So I'd probably let both my Pokemon get knocked out, switch Incineroar to the Pokemon that isn't the Eviltal.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, and let it just die. If I'm in Alex's position, I think I have to Frustration the Incineroar, E-Speed the Groudon. but David did have a way to capitalize to get that 100% locked up.
Yeah, for sure.
Either way, we do see the Smith brother emerge victorious over the Smith brother in an interesting 2-1 victory. Looking forward to seeing their smiling faces at our subsequent locals, and looking forward to watching them grow throughout the Sword and Shield metagame.
Yeah.
Really have enjoyed getting to know these kids at at our locals, and I'm really happy we got to show them on stream fighting each other on David's birthday.
Yep, really well played set to David. Interesting teams coming out from both sides. But with that, we have concluded round 3, and we are moving into our final round of Swiss. Will be round 4, and after that will be our top 4